Today we're diving into a case that started with a truly horrifying discovery and ended up unraveling a story of love, betrayal, and what police say was a meticulously planned murder. This is the Murat drum murder case.
So it all kicks off with something that sounds almost ordinary. A really bad smell was coming from a house in Murat, Uttar Pradesh. It got so bad that neighbors finally had to call the police. But what those officers found inside, well, it was more gruesome than anyone could have possibly imagined.
So for our first section, let's look at a secret sealed in a drum. This is where it all begins, with the source of that awful smell.
Okay, so picture this. Police enter the home, and they find this large metal drum. When they finally manage to pry it open, they find the source. It's a human body, completely encased in hardened cement. I mean, this wasn't just a murder. This was a calculated, cold-blooded effort to literally erase a person from existence.
That brings us to Section 2. 3 characters, 1 story. Once a body was discovered, investigators immediately honed in on the people at the very center of this tragedy.
The police quickly identified 3 key individuals. The victim was a man named Saurabh Rajput, an officer in the Merchant Navy. The 2 people accused of his murder, his own wife, Muskan Case, and her alleged lover, Sahil Shukla. Right away, investigators started to believe that a love triangle gone horribly wrong was the motive here.
Section 3. How did the murder happen? So, with the main players identified, the police started to piece together the alleged chain of events that led to Saurav's death.
According to the police, the plot was just chillingly methodical. First, they say Saurabh was sedated. Once he was unconscious, he was killed. Then, in a truly horrific attempt to make sure he couldn't be identified, his killers allegedly tried to disfigure his body. And finally, he was put inside that drum and sealed with cement, the final act to hide the crime.
But you know, maybe the most disturbing detail to come out of the police investigation is what happened after the murder. The accused allegedly just went on with their lives. They celebrated festivals, they went out, all as if nothing was wrong, all while the victim's body was hidden right there. It was a calculated performance of normalcy.
And that leads us to Section 4, the police charge sheet. All of this evidence, all the testimony, and this alleged sequence of events were all put together into the official case against the accused.
And get this, the result of that entire police investigation is a charge sheet that totals 1,000 pages. 1,000! That number alone just gives you a sense of the sheer volume of evidence they gathered.
So, what exactly is in those 1,000 pages? Well, the prosecution's case is really built on a foundation of modern police work. We're talking CCTV footage that tracked their movements, mobile data records showing who was talking to whom, statements from witnesses, and of course, critical forensic reports from the crime scene.
Now, this is absolutely crucial. The police are not arguing this was some accident or a heat-of-the-moment crime of passion. No. The central claim, the very core of their charges sheet, is that this was a premeditated murder. They believe both of the accused carefully and deliberately planned this crime well in advance.
Which brings us to our next section, incomplete answers, big questions. Because even with a 1,000-page charge sheet, you know, this case is far from closed. There are some really big questions that are still just hanging in the air. And this is probably the biggest question of all. The how is detailed page after page in that charge sheet. But the why? The why is still pretty murky. What on earth could possibly motivate someone to commit such a brutal and calculated act?
Based on what's been reported, a few main theories have come up. An extramarital affair and jealousy seem to be the leading speculations. But some reports have also pointed to a potential financial dispute. Right now, though, a definitive motive is still unclear. The impact of a crime like this, it just spreads like shockwaves, devastating 2 whole families. Saurabh Rajput's family is, understandably, publicly demanding the harshest punishment possible. Meanwhile, Muskan Case family has reportedly decided to leave Murat completely because they just can't bear the social shame and disgrace.
And then there's this, a really surprising development coming from inside the jail. According to media reports, Muskan Case is currently pregnant, and the jail is actually providing special maternity care. On top of that, it's also been reported that she's expressed a desire to study law while she's incarcerated.
So the legal path forward from here is clear, but it's going to be a long one. The arrests have been made, the massive charge sheet has been filed, so the case is now officially in the trial phase, working its way through the courts. A final verdict, though, is still some time away.
You know, the Mirror Drum murder has resonated far beyond just the courtroom. It has really ignited these national conversations about incredibly difficult topics. We're talking domestic violence, infidelity, and the fundamental nature of trust inside a relationship. It really forces us to look at the darker side of human behavior.
And that really leaves us with a final, sobering thought. When a story like this emerges, one that details such a complete and violent breakdown of trust, what does it force us as a society to confront about the relationships we build and the secrets they might hold?